I'm Rick. I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's the middle of February. It's 3 degrees below zero out today. It's been that way for a week. It's going to be that way for another week or so, maybe even 10, 13, 20 below zero over the next few days. Most gardeners are inside planting their gardens about this time. I am going to plant my garden today. I'm going to do it inside, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to take you a walk through my garden. We've got another garden upstairs I'll show you in a little bit. And then we're going to focus a little bit on growing some collard greens today. So what I have growing down here now is I've got some Hungarian apple peppers. I got the seeds from a friend of mine in Indiana. Back here I'm going to have a whole bunch of basil. That basil is going to get about this tall, be very bushy. In a few weeks we're going to have a lot of basil for pesto and pizza and a whole bunch of good stuff. And then today we're going to plant some collard greens over here. I love collard greens. We got Mardi Gras coming up. It's that time of year for collard greens. It's a southern dish, but we're going to cook some up today. We harvested some this morning. I cleaned everything up. Today I'm going to show you the beginning of the collard green, and then we're going to go up to the kitchen and I'm going to show you the end of the collard green. So we're going to show you how to cook those collard greens up. All right? So let's get to work. We're going to plant some collard greens, and let's focus in on that a little bit right now. Okay, we're going to grow collard greens today. And before we actually plant the seeds, I'll give you a breakdown of all the component parts and the things that you're going to need to get your collard greens started. So the first thing is are the buckets and your hardware down here, as it were. I've got these buckets in a boot tray. I got that at one of the local big box hardware stores. I also got these buckets at our local big box hardware store. They cost $4 or $5 a piece. You can also get them on Amazon, and I actually know somebody who gets them for free. He goes to the local Dunkin' Donuts. Apparently they get the frosting for the donuts in these kinds of buckets, and he goes in and asks the owner if he can take them. They're generally out in the trash, filled with remnants of donut frosting, and he takes them home for free, along with a few donuts probably. We've got 10-inch net pots here that fit into these buckets. They're just larger versions of these. I've got my my basil behind me, planted in these in the larger jars. And in the net pots, we have clay pellets. These are like this, and they come like this. I got this, I believe, on Amazon. Not too expensive. I can't remember how much I paid for this, but it's really cheap. This is a 40-pound bag of clay pellets, and they'll last you for a long time, depending on what you grow, of course. And you can reuse these. And some other time I'll tell you how you can recycle these to use them again. So beyond that, when we come up here, you've got, probably most importantly, to do this indoors during the winter, you've got your Happy Leaf LED grow lights. This is the latest and the greatest from Happy Leaf. This is the Procyon LED Grow Light 2.0. I love these. They really give the best kind of light for growing whatever you're going to be wanting growing indoors. So, last but not least, we got the seeds. These are collards, Georgia Southern collards, and collards are great to grow because they're easy. They grow very quickly, and you can get multiple harvests from one planting. I think that I will harvest these. They'll grow probably in 4 to 6 weeks when you can start harvesting them, and then I'll probably get 5 or 6 harvests off of them during that time. And afterwards today, we'll take you upstairs. We'll show you the plants that I harvested this morning. I'll insert some photos into this video to show you what they looked like before we harvested them. And then we'll give you a quick cooking demonstration on how you can cut and cook these collard greens for dinner tonight, we hope. Okay, so let's get a little closer here, and I'll show you exactly how to plant your collard greens in your passive hydroponic garden. Okay, we've got, once again, we're Georgia Southern collard greens. These are from Survival Garden Seeds. All right, and they're pretty small. Whoop. That's how well you can see these. Okay, they're very small, little round black seeds, and it's not going to take much. I'll stick these up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of scatter a few seeds across the tops of these. I'll stop and say, go back a little bit. There's water and nutrient in these buckets. The nutrient is this Maxi-Grow, and I mixed about a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons per gallon in water. These are 3.5 gallon pots, so there's about 5 teaspoons of nutrient mixed into the water, and I bring the water level up to just below about the first level of these clay pellets. So you can, if you move the pellets around a little bit, you can see the water level. And I'll put these seeds in, and I'll show you a little bit better the water level on this bucket over here, okay? So I'm gonna just kind of scatter a few seeds around. Now these seeds are gonna start to come up in just a few days. And once they start to come up, I will thin them out a little bit. So in the end, each bucket will have maybe 3 plants in it, but those plants are gonna grow to be pretty big and pretty bushy. So that should be enough for that bucket. And then I'll scatter some seeds over across these pellets over here. And it really doesn't matter, the seeds are going to fall between the cracks a little bit. And I'm going to show you up. See, I don't know if you can see the water in there. So it's the water is up to maybe 3 or 4 inches below the rim of the bucket. Then when you set the net pot down in, you're going to see the pebbles rise a little bit. So once you get the seeds in, you're going to want to scatter a single layer of pebbles across the top. And the pebbles stay really good if they're submerged a little bit lower down in the nutrient and water. They stay wet, so you really don't have to water this at all. As the plants start to grow, the plants will use up the nutrient in the water, the level will sink, and you're going to have to come back to them in like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 weeks, and replenish and bring the level up a little bit. But you're going to always want to leave some of the roots in the oxygen, because the roots need oxygen as well as the water with the nutrient in it. And these are planted, these are ready to go, and that's as easy as that is. So I'm not going to have to come back and do anything to these for 4 or 5 weeks. I'm going to start to see these come up probably in less than a week. I'm going to start seeing growth here. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to come back through these, and I'm going to thin them out a little bit. So I will leave like the 3 or the 4 strongest plants. And then from there, these plants are going to grow. I don't know how high up you could see here with the camera. They're going to grow up really big and very healthy. And I'll show you, when we get up into the kitchen, I'll show you the leaves and how big they are and how robust these plants are. So that's all we need to do with these. So we're done planting these. We're going to go up into the kitchen. I'm going to show you the greens that we have growing upstairs, and then I'll walk you through cooking the collard greens. Let's go. We've got gardens downstairs where we're growing collard greens and basil and peppers, some of the larger plants. The smaller plants, the lettuces, the smaller greens we've got growing up here in the dining room. And we've got them growing on a continuous basis. So we've got plants that we just started a few days ago here now. This is arugula, and it's just blossoming, it's just growing. And in a matter of a few weeks, it'll look like these plants down here. And by the time it gets there, these plants will be about done, and we'll just move these plants down, and we'll start some new plants up here. So we've got various kinds of greens here. What's this? This is mescal, and we've got arugula here. We've got a red leaf lettuce, and some rosemary here. We use this on a daily basis for salads, and it's a very efficient way. Once again, we have the smaller, the 17-inch Happy Leaf lights. up here in our dining room. It's a little bit more contained. We've got a lot of seeds and pots and stuff up here. And it just shows that you can grow anywhere, anytime with happy leaf lights. Okay, these are the collard greens that we harvested this morning. This was kind of the end of the collard green plant. I had gotten 5 or 6 harvests off of it, and you can tell when the plant kind of runs its course. This one kind of had gotten big. It gets a little bit tougher, but the great thing about growing collard greens indoors is, well, there's a number of great things. 1, no bugs. 2, you can really control the environment. And 3, the collard greens that you get from the plants that you grow indoors are very tender. You'll notice that the collard greens that you buy in the store are really kind of tough, and they take a long time to cook, maybe 20 minutes or so once you get them in the pot. These will cook down in about 10 minutes. So I'll show you exactly. We're going to cook some vegetarian collard greens today, and I'll give you a little hint in if you're going to make them. A lot of people make them with bacon, and I like them that way, but not everybody in our house does. So I make vegetarian collard greens, and I'll show you how to do that and get a really good smoky flavor with them. So the first thing you want to do is, another great thing about the collard greens that you cook indoors, that you grow indoors, is you don't have to wash them. That's a big plus, okay? So I haven't washed these, and they're still good. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut the stems off of them, and it's very easy. You just basically kind of score them up on either side of the big stem that grows up the middle of the collard green. Chop them, remove the stems, and you got your collard greens here. So we're going to do a little bit more chopping on the collard greens, but before we do, we're going to guide you through the ingredients of the dish, and we're going to get things started cooking. Then I'm going to throw everything in the pot, and we'll let the collard greens cook. I wish you could be here to smell it, and later on to taste it, of course. We're going to have these for dinner tonight. You want a big pot. I got some olive oil. I'm going to pour just a couple of tablespoons of olive oil into the pot. I'm going to turn it on to medium-high. I've got a whole red onion I'm going to put in here. Give it a bowl. And I've got some garlic. Now, I'm not giving you amounts of a lot of this stuff, like the garlic. If you like garlic, use a lot. If you don't like garlic at all, don't use any. You really don't have to. We like garlic a lot, so I'm using a lot of garlic. But if you only like it a little, you only need to use a little. Okay, so I've got this all crushed up already. So you didn't have to watch me peel and crush garlic. Get that all off there. It's going to start cooking up. Now, while those are cooking, I'm going to show you how to chop this. So I take all of these collard green leaves, and I'm going to roll them up. Roll them up, roll them up, roll them up. I'm going to cut it lengthwise, like this. Just kidding. Eating stuff off the floor, 5-second roll, doesn't apply here. Then I'm going to chop them across. So you're going to have just big sections of leaves, and they're all going to cook down. That should do it. Throw them in this bowl. That's just to make it easier to transfer it to the pot. I can hear the olive oil and the onions and the garlic starting to sizzle. We'll stir this up a little bit, and we'll pull this shot in a little bit closer in a minute, and we'll show you what it looks like in the pan, and I'll give you a little bit of a hint as to what this looks like, and maybe if you get closer you'll be able to smell it as well. Okay, here we go. Okay, we've got the onions and the garlic cooking, and it's been cooking for a few minutes. Stir it around a little bit. We're going to pour some broth in here, so you really don't have to worry about cooking the onions down until they're translucent or anything like that, because they'll cook for a little bit. Once again, these collard greens are really tender, so they're not going to take very long to cook. So in here again, we've got a whole red onion. We've got, I think I used maybe 5 or 6 crushed garlic cloves. I've got, you saw the big batch of collard greens. A couple of the other ingredients that we're going to be using today. Once I put the collard greens in the pot and start to cook them down a little bit, after they've cooked down just a little bit, we'll add 4 cups of vegetable broth. And I'm going to add just a little bit of crushed red pepper. Again, you don't have to use it if you don't like red pepper. If you really like red pepper, use a lot. There's only a little bit left in this jar, so I'll use just what's left in the jar. Now, if you're a meat eater and you like your real smoky collard greens, at this stage when you're cooking the onions and the garlic, you could cook some bacon in here. And again, you can use as much bacon as you want. I have also made it with ham hocks. Anything that'll add just a smoky flavor to the collard greens is good. Now, if you're not a meat eater and you want to keep this vegetarian, my big secret is smoked paprika. And again, if you like a lot of smoke, add a lot of smoked paprika. If you don't like much smoke, just use a little paprika. Or if you don't like any smoky flavor at all, you don't have to use any paprika. You can also use liquid smoke, but we've got a couple of members of our household who aren't crazy about liquid smoke, so I don't use that anymore. But this does the job. This is really good. So these onions and the garlic is cooked up. I'm going to add the collard greens in there. Now, this is just a couple of seconds. We're going to start to release some of the moisture from the collard greens. I'm going to cook them down a little bit. And again, with these collard greens that are grown indoors, it just takes a few seconds to cook them down. You'll start to see that they start to get a little supple and they start to be cooked down. And that's pretty good. Again, I wish you could smell this. It smells fabulous. You just have to trust me. Drop me a line, maybe I'll fax you some, okay? Oh, these do travel through fax, by the way. I've got some vegetable broth here. I'm going to use this whole container of vegetable broth. You can really smell it now. I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska. If you're in Boston, Massachusetts, I know you can smell this. We're so fortunate we have a Whole Foods right down the street. So even when it's 3 below, it takes 5 minutes to walk down there. And okay, so we've got the vegetable broth, we've got the collard greens, we've got the onion, we've got the garlic, a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to add some smoked paprika. I'm going to add a lot of it because I really like the smoky flavor of it. And if it's not smoky enough later on when I taste it, I'll add more. And I'm going to add the bottom of this container of crushed red pepper. I'm going to stir all this up. This is going to come to a boil. I'm going to cover it. And these will cook down in about 10 minutes. And then I'll keep them on low while I make the rest of our dinner. And when everybody's gathered for dinner, these will be good to go. And they will disappear pronto because everybody loves them. This is a favorite dish in this house. It is my favorite vegetable. And I'm so happy that I've been able to share the growing and the cooking of the collard greens. And I promise I'll come back in a few weeks when the collard greens that I planted today have grown. And we'll take you on another tour of our garden downstairs to show you our fully grown basil and our collard greens. Oh, and those wonderful Hungarian apple peppers. And we'll talk a little bit more of those next time. All right? Thank you very much. Been a pleasure having you. Bon appetit, as they say. Bye.